Okay, so this is your second chapter, ratio analysis. Okay, extension to the first chapter, vertical financial statements. Right now, ratios in terms of mathematics, you all have done this chapter, I guess, in your school days in algebra. Okay, so ratios का मतलब क्या होता है? Relationship between two numbers. But we have to now study with terms of accountancy. तो accounting ratios क्या होता है? It is a relationship between two figures. Okay, which two figures? Yeah, so that will be explained in ratio analysis. Analysis means interpretation. Okay, yeah. So what is ratio analysis? It is the process of computing, matlab calculating, and presenting the relationship between the items in the financial statements. Okay, so I'll take it back again. What are ratios? Relationship between two numbers. Okay, now what you have to study? Accounting ratios. The accounting ratios will explain you the relationship between two accounting numbers. Okay, and then what is ratio analysis? So it is the process of calculating and presenting the relationship between the items. Okay, matlab two numbers, but where in the financial statements. And we have already done in the last chapter what do you mean by financial statements. It includes your revenue statements, your balance sheet, your cash flow statement, and your notes to accounts. Okay, so obviously the chapter that you're studying, it is very important. Why are you studying this chapter? Because this chapter provides you an important aid of financial analysis. Okay, so as and when we move further to to the chapter, you will understand the importance of this chapter. Okay, in the subject of management accounting or financial management. Okay, so it helps also, this chapter will help you to study the financial position or the financial performance and position of a company. Okay, it gives you an interpretation to it, right? So these are the various forms of ratios that you will be studying. Okay, so please make a note of this, whatever I have written. First is a pure ratio, then percentage ratio and rate. Okay, so these will be the three forms of ratios. Okay, first pure ratio. Pure ratio means it will be a simple number where there will be a division of one number by the another number. Okay, so I have given here a small example of one of the ratios that you will be studying more further. That is a current ratio. Now, say for example, current ratio is one form of ratio analysis, one form of pure ratio, and current ratio the formula is say current assets upon current liability. Okay, so say my current assets are 4 lakhs and my current liability is 2 lakhs. Okay, so if you strike off the zeros and if you reduce this equation, so it comes to 2 is to 2 upon 1. So I can write this in the form of 2 is to 1. Okay, so this what I have written 2 is to 1 is a pure ratio. Okay, I mean this. Okay, so I've given an example so that you understand कि pure ratio किसको बोलते हैं. Okay, so when you're writing anything in terms of 3 is to 1, 4 is to 1, 3 is to 5, 5 is to 3, 8 is to 2, so that's known as a pure ratio. Am I clear? Acknowledge in the chat box. Clear, it is clear to everyone? Okay, fine. Next come to percentage ratios. Okay, so some accounting ratios will be more meaningful if it is expressed in percentage. ठीक है, so, अभी जैसे मैंने ये एग्जांपल दिया 2:1. अब ये 2:1 को अगर मुझे परसेंटेज में चाहिए, okay, same thing, I'm talking about this ratio. If you want to know a current ratio, and if I multiply this formula with 100, so obviously it will be expressed in percentage, simple as that. Okay, see, I'll show it to you. 2:1 लिखा ना मैंने, तो अगर मैं करूँ 2 / 1 into 100, कितना हो जाएगा 200%. तो सेम चीज़ मुझे परसेंटेज में मिलेगी. सो इससे क्या हो जाता है, कोई भी रेशियो है अगर आप उसको परसेंटेज में बताते हो, so वो that ratio itself becomes a more meaningful ratio. I'll give you one more example. If I tell कि a student has scored 516 out of 700, okay, 516 are his marks out of the total 700. So okay, fine. You will understand. Okay, he has scored 516 out of 700. But if you want to make the expression more meaningful, if I tell you 516 divided by 700 into 100, and it comes in percentage 73.71%, then you are able to connect it more better. Oh, she has scored 73%. Yes. So you get a more meaningful idea, more meaningful picture of the ratio. Okay, like for example, here I have given you an example of gross profit ratio. So obviously you have done all these simple formulas in manufacturing, accounting, fire insurance chapters, where we calculate GP ratios for fire insurance claim purpose. Yeah, so GP upon net sales into 100. So see, I've just given an example. GP is 2 lakhs, net sales is 10 lakhs. So it is expressed in percentage. So I get an answer called 20%. Okay. Am I clear about percentage ratio? Okay. Now come to this rate. Sometimes ratios are expressed as rates. Rates means number of times over a certain period. Here I've given you an example of stock turnover ratio. Okay, one example. So if I tell you my stock turnover ratio is 8 times, ओके से हम लोग एक फार्मूला लगाते हैं और हमारा आंसर आता है स्टॉक टर्नओवर का 8 टाइम्स. ठीक है. Why? See, what did I tell? It is expressed in terms of number of times. So if my answer is 8, it means 8 times. तो ये 8 times का meaning क्या होता है? 8 times indicates it means stock is converted into sales 8 times in 12 months. समझ में आया? Stock is converted into sales 8 times in 12 months. मतलब in a year 8 times you sell. Your stock is sold 8 times in a year. Am I clear? Do you all understand the forms of ratios? Okay, pure ratio, percentage ratio, and rate. Okay, then let us come to the types of ratios that you will be studying. Okay, please make a note of this. All these ratios are a part of your syllabus. Make a note of this. Types of ratios. We'll be first dealing with balance sheet ratios. Okay, then we will study revenue ratios, also known as P&L ratios, and then we will study combined ratios, that is a mix of balance sheet and P&L. Okay, am I clear till here? Just acknowledge it in the chat box. समझ में आ रहा है? Okay. Just may write down the names of the ratios. Balance sheet ratio, where you will be studying current ratio. Then we will be studying quick ratio. See, all this we have studied in vertical financial statements. Huh? What is current assets, quick assets? Yes. Working capital, proprietor funds क्या होता है? हाँ, ये सब हमने ऑलरेडी किया हुआ है. अब हम इसका ratios पढ़ेंगे. So what is current ratio, quick ratio, also known as liquid ratio or asset test ratio. Then stock to working capital ratio, proprietary ratio, then debt equity ratio, and capital gearing ratio. Okay. Then we will study about revenue ratios, where gross profit ratio, operating ratio, expense ratio, operating profit ratio, net profit ratio, and stock turnover ratio. Okay. तो सबसे अच्छी बात है, when I will study balance sheet ratios, my numerator, my denominator, the formulas that I will be used, both will be from balance sheet only. When I will study P&L ratios, the formula that I will be using, my numerator, my denominator, both will be from revenue, that is P&L account. Combined ratios. When I will study combined ratios, my numerator and my denominator will be either in the balance sheet or in the P&L. तो अगर मेरा न्यूमरेटर बैलेंस शीट का फिगर है तो मेरा डिनोमिनेटर पीएनएल का फिगर होगा, वाइस वर्सा अगर मेरा न्यूमरेटर पीएनएल का फिगर है तो मेरा what do you call denominator will be from balance sheet. Okay, that's the beauty of this chapter. Okay, so am I clear till here? Combined ratios में you will be studying about ROI, return on investment, is also known as capital employed ratio. Then we will study return on shareholders. Okay, that is return on proprietors fund, return on equity capital, dividend payout ratio, debt service ratio, debt service coverage ratio, debtors turnover and velocity ratio, and last creditors turnover and velocity ratio. Okay, now once we study each ratio, okay, in depth, then you will understand ये चैप्टर पढ़ने से फायदा क्या होता है. Now once you come in your third year and you start giving interviews, next year से when you will start giving interviews at the Thakur placement cell, this chapter management accounting का this chapter ratios is one of the favorite questions of the interviewer. Interview में one of the favorite questions asked is on ratios only. Okay, so let me proceed further. Come to balance sheet ratios. So okay, you will understand the ratios much better when we are doing the theory along with the sums. Okay, so this is a question on balance sheet ratio. Okay, now try to figure this out. Okay, calculate all the balance sheet ratios, all good, all. All means they will not tell you which ratio to calculate. You should know the names of all these six. समझ में आया? They will not give you an exam. You have to calculate this ratio. You should know the name of all the ratios. Okay, current ratio, quick ratio, stock to working capital, proprietary, debt equity, capital gearing, all that. Okay. So this is a balance sheet. Yeah. जिसको देख के मुझे पहले वर्टिकल बैलेंस शीट बनानी है. ठीक है. So since it's the first sum, I will teach you in that manner. To look at the asset sides, I have land, fixed assets, building, fixed assets, machinery, fixed assets, investments. These are the long-term investments. Stock, current asset, under the category non-quick. Then debtors, current asset, under the category quick assets. Then expenses on issue of shares. These are fictitious assets. Miscellaneous expenditure. याद आया? जो आपके शेयर होल्डर्स फंड से माइनस होता है. Okay, talking about that. Then equity share capital, preference share capital, reserves and surplus. Reserves will come under reserves and surplus. Okay, ये fictitious assets यहाँ से माइनस होता है reserves and surplus से. Okay, next 12% debentures. This will come under borrowed funds. Creditors, credit liability under the category quick liability. Bills payable, current liability under the category quick liability. Okay, first we will prepare this. वर्टिकल बैलेंस शीट ये तो बनाना ही पड़ेगा बिकॉज हमारा न्यूमरेटर डिनोमिनेटर जो हम फॉर्मूलाज अप्लाई करेंगे विल कम फ्रॉम दिस वर्टिकल बैलेंस शीट. ओके. Anyway, sometimes without making vertical balance sheet also you can calculate ratios, but that I will teach you later. First we will learn ratios with vertical balance sheet. Okay. See, question में आपको सिर्फ बैलेंस शीट दिया है. पहले आप वर्टिकल बैलेंस शीट बनाओगे और फिर आप रेशियोज कैलकुलेट करोगे. समझ में आया? सिंस इट्स द बिगिनिंग ऑफ द चैप्टर आई विल टीच यू हाउ टू do it with first vertical balance sheet and then apply the ratios. Okay. So right now, vertical balance sheet as on 31st March 18. Sources of funds. May I have shareholders funds? In that, equity shareholders capital and preference shares. Add reserves and surplus. Less losses, that is miscellaneous expenditure, accumulated losses, also known as fictitious assets. Okay. So solve this, you will get shareholders funds. Okay. 1,40,000 plus 1,50,000 plus 50,000 minus 32,000. 3,08,000. So this is my answer. Okay. तो ये है मेरा शेयर होल्डर्स फंड. ओके. नेक्स्ट, बोरोड फंड्स, डिबेंचर्स है 2 lakhs का. Add 2 lakhs. So my answer is 5,08,000. So this is my total of sources of funds. Next, application of funds. Fixed assets. May I have land 1,50,000, building 1 lakh, and machinery 50,000. So take it in the outer column. 1,50,000 plus 1 lakh plus 50. It is 3 lakhs. So मेरा fixed assets कितना है? 3 lakhs. Then long term investments में 2,60,000. Okay. Then what do I have? I have to calculate my working capital. वो कैसे मिलेगा? Current assets minus current liability. So this is all what we have done in the last chapter also. Correct? Current assets में I have quick assets plus non-quick. Quick assets में मेरे पास debtors है 13,000 का. Non-quick में I have stock of 30,000. Okay. So quick assets plus non-quick is what? Current asset 43,000. 13 plus 30. Okay. So all these minute things remember. Current assets क्या है? Quick assets plus non-quick. Then come to current liability. It is quick liability plus non-quick. The quick liability may have what? Creditors and bills payable 55 and 40. So that makes it to 95. And non-quick liability है ही नहीं, मत लिखो. You can omit that step. Okay. Now current assets. Okay. Minus current liability. Don't forget. Okay. Current assets minus current liability. So see, 43,000 minus 95,000. It is 52,000 negative. याद रखना, negative है working capital in this sum. Now what? Fixed assets 3 lakhs. Long-term investments 2,60,000 and this working capital. बराबर, तीनों को ऐड करो. Okay, so 3 lakhs plus 2 lakh 60 minus 52,000. Answer is 5 lakh 8. It has to tally, obviously. Correct? My answer has to tally because it's a balance sheet. Total of application of funds. I hope I'm clear till here. Understood? Yeah, is it clear? Okay. Now come to this current ratio. So the formula of current ratio is right up current assets upon current liability. Okay. How much is your current assets? Look into the vertical financial statement. 43,000 and 95,000. So right here 43,000 divided by 95,000. 0.45 is to 1. Okay. But the industry standard ratio of current ratio is 2 is to 1. You have to always compare it with this 2 is to 1. इसका क्या मीनिंग होता है? When I say 2 is to 1, मतलब current asset is 2 and current liability is 1. मतलब if you are a good businessman, you should always have your assets double your liability. Okay, so that in future कभी लिक्विड क्या होगा कंपनी इंसॉल्वेंट हो गई तो because your current assets are double your current liability you can pay off. Okay, so standard ratio should always be 2 is to 1. So if your company's current ratio is above 2 is to 1, say your company current ratio is 3 is to 1, then this is always better. It will always give you an indication that your business is making good because your assets are 3 times of your liability. जबकि स्टैंडर्ड इंडस्ट्री रेशियो कितना है 2 is to 1. ओके, लेकिन अगर आपका आंसर 2 is to 1 से कम है तो इट्स अ मैटर ऑफ या इट इज़ अ मैटर टू बी टेकन केयर ऑफ. आपको दिन फिर सोचना पड़ेगा. यू हैव टू टेक डिसीजंस and in favor such that you can improve this ratio. Okay, so जैसे अभी इस कंपनी का करंट रेशियो कितना आया है 0.45 is to 1 obviously which is less than the standard ratio. So it gives an indication to the businessman that you need to have a check on your current assets and liability because this ratio has to be above this ratio, either equal to or above but not less than this ratio. Okay, so understood how current ratio is helpful to the businessman. Next, quick ratio. It is quick assets upon quick liability. Okay, so quick assets is 13,000, quick liability is 95,000. So 13,000 divided by 95,000. My answer is 0.136. Round off कर दो 0.14 is to 1. Okay, क्विक रेशियो का स्टैंडर्ड इंडस्ट्री रेशियो इज 1 is to 1. मतलब अगर आपका क्विक एसेट 1 रुपया है तो आपका क्विक लाइबिलिटी भी 1 रुपया होनी चाहिए. दे शुड बी ऑलवेज इक्वल. ओके, सो दिस इंडिकेट्स अ गुड बिजनेस. If it is less than this, then you need to take reforms in your decision making. You need changes in the existing policies of the business such that this ratio, which is less than 1 is to 1, should improve. come to stock to working capital ratio. Formula is closing stock upon working capital into 100. Okay, and you see all these uh, ratios what you have applied. See your numerator, see your denominator, both are from balance sheet. Okay, so even in quick ratio, see your numerator, your denominator, both the figures are from balance sheet. Okay, that is what I wanted to say. Stock to working capital भी देखो, closing stock is given in balance sheet, yes, and working capital is also there in the balance sheet, yes, into 100. Okay, so इसमें फॉर्मूला में इंटू 100 है ना, मतलब दिस इज अ फॉर्म ऑफ परसेंटेज रेशियो. तो अगर एग्जाम में आपको आई स्टॉक टू वर्किंग कैपिटल रेशियो इज अ डैश फॉर्म ऑफ रेशियो एंड दे गिव यू ऑप्शंस, सो योर राइट आंसर विल बी परसेंटेज. Okay, if they ask you in exam, quick ratio is a dash form of ratio and they give you four options. Okay, say they give you it is a dash form of ratio, pure ratio, percentage ratio, okay, rate rate ratio, none of the above. So your right answer will be pure ratio. Okay, so yeah, closing stock is 30, working capital is negative, so obviously the answer that you get will be also negative. So 30,000 divided by 52,000 into 100, 57.69. So obviously stock to working capital ratio should be positive, not a negative. So obviously you need to look into the business. That's an indication. Proprietary ratio formula is proprietor's funds upon total assets into 100. Okay, see your numerator and denominator both are in terms of balance sheet figures. Okay, so proprietor's fund. How will you get proprietor's fund? From here, ये जो हमने यहाँ solve किया था ना, ये. This is the formula of proprietor's funds. Okay, ये मैंने आपको first chapter में भी बताया था. What is proprietor's fund? Shareholders funds and reserves and surplus less miscellaneous expenditure. So this 3,08,000 is my proprietor's funds. ये रहा. Okay, see 3,08,000. Then total assets. Total assets is fixed assets plus long-term investments plus current assets. Okay, so my fixed assets total. Yeah. Land plus building plus machine. Yeah. This is my total fixed assets. This is my investments and my working capital. But working capital नहीं चाहिए इनको, current assets चाहिए. तो ये रहा मेरा current assets 43,000. ये तीनों को ऐड करो. 3 lakhs plus 2 lakh 60 plus 43,000. 3 lakh plus 2 lakh 60 plus 43,000. So 6 lakh 3,000 is my answer. Solve it. 3 lakh 8,000 divided by 6 lakh 3,000 into 100. 51.08%.